Hello and welcome to the CACRAO Virtual College Exploration Program for all North and South Carolina students. For everyone in the audience, you can feel free to ask your questions of the presenters at any point in time by using the Q&A button on your screen. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. We also encourage you to sign up for additional sessions at that same website where you found this one at CACRAO.org. This session and all of our sessions are being recorded, so you'll be able to find a copy of this recording and all of them at that same website. So without any further ado, I'd love to turn it over to Carrie from the University of Vermont.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone. My name is Carrie Pratt. I am a Senior Assistant Director of Admissions at the University of Vermont, and I really appreciate everyone making time out of your day to be here today. I am the Admissions Counselor for North Carolina, and I'm here as well on behalf of my colleague Bridget Baldwin, who is the representative for South Carolina. I have two amazing colleagues here with me, current students at the University of Vermont, so I'll have them introduce themselves first. Skylar, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Thanks, Carrie. My name is Skylar Ayers. I am from Charleston, South Carolina, and I am a dual degree student here at the University of Vermont. I'm a sophomore studying business administration in our Grossman School of Business. And then I'm a double major in economics and French in our College of Arts and Sciences. Outside of the classroom, I'm involved with horticulture clubs, ski and snowboard, as well as Active Minds, which is mental health advocacy. Kira, hand it off to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kira White. I use she, her pronouns. I am originally from Denver, Colorado, but my family just moved to South Carolina last year in Bluffton. I am a current junior majoring in molecular genetics in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and I have minors in music and pharmacology. Outside of the classroom, I am in the microbiology and molecular genetics club. I am a Zumba instructor, and I'm also part of the Mortarboard Society.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kira and Skylar. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we have a presentation that will last about 15 minutes, and then we'll take questions. And I see that we already have a question in there, which is awesome. So we look forward to getting to all of your questions as we go through our presentation. So here you can see a little bit of just some basic information, quick statistics about the University of Vermont. You see the size, you see the breadth of our program. So we have 10,000 undergraduate students at the University of Vermont. And I want you to pay special attention to the fact that 73% of those students are actually from outside of the state of Vermont. So the majority of our students are coming from outside of Vermont. So you'll be in good company coming from North and South Carolina, surrounded by people from all over the country and all over the world. You'll also see that we have 100 different majors and 40 different accelerated master's programs. One thing that I think is really a distinguishing factor of UVM is that we have all of these 7 schools and colleges, plus the Honors College. So you heard Kira and Skylar talk about their involvement with the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, Grossman School of Business, College of Arts and Sciences. And you can see all of those schools listed here on this slide. It gives you an idea of all of the different types of majors that we have at the University of Vermont. They all fit into some of those categories. And I'm happy to answer questions as we go in the Q&A session about that. So another really big distinction of the University of Vermont is our faculty. So professors at UVM are world-class scientists and scholars. They're driven to make new discoveries, but they also love to teach. And they get to do both of those things at the University of Vermont. We have a model that we call scholar-teacher model, where faculty members are both scholars and teachers at the same time. Another really big landmark of UVM is our land-grant heritage. And so land-grant universities are dedicated to education that improves the health of our societies. And so you'll see that throughout all of our majors. No matter what major you choose, you'll see that idea of working towards community and towards the health of our societies is something that is extremely present across classes, labs, clubs, every aspect of the University of Vermont. You'll also notice maybe that some of our kind of distinctive qualities can be a little bit contradictory on the surface. So you'll see old and new. University of Vermont is old. It was founded in 1791. It's actually the 5th oldest university in New England. But it's also constantly renewing its programs and its facilities to keep pace with the world around us. So we have a brand new STEM complex. We have new majors that come in every year, including one from 2 years ago, which is Health and Society, which is a public health major, which might be especially interesting to folks in this day and age. UVM's size also at around 10,000 students makes us both big and small. So we're a research university, which tends to be a little bit on the bigger side than where we are, but we're also a liberal arts college as well. And so students are able to get access to both of those worlds. You know, we're larger than most liberal arts schools, we're smaller than most research universities. So that 10,000 size really is perfect, we believe. And those 7 schools and colleges that I mentioned in the first slide are really great ways where students are finding some of that community right away in the larger environment of the University of Vermont. And it's also true that our location is both urban and also open. So campus is right in Burlington, which is a small city in Vermont, which is known for food and music and other arts, also business and tech. We're also very close by to Lake Champlain and to the Green and Adirondack Mountains. So a very quick walk away, you can be right down in one of the most, in my opinion, beautiful places in the whole world, looking across the lake at the Adirondack Mountains of New York. We're also quite close to Montreal, which is about 90 miles away and is a very cosmopolitan French-speaking city, just about an hour and a half drive north of us. So there are a lot of things that really excite us about the University of Vermont. Just a few kind of highlights here. It's, you know, our alumni network, it's our Division I sports, it's 200 clubs and organizations, it's local food and maple syrup and apples. There's so many different things to get excited about at the University of Vermont. I also mentioned the accelerated master's programs early on. So University of Vermont offers academic, intellectual challenges, as well as outside of the classroom challenges, whether that's athletics, whether that's clubs and organizations, so many different places to get excited about at the University of Vermont. So I'm going to turn it over to the true expert. Skylar's going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about the next 2 slides.
So one of the things that makes Vermont so special is we love learning by doing. And through internships with local businesses, or whether it's doing research with your professors, pretty much on any topic you can think of, from STEM research to history to art, as well as just in your classes. We love to apply what we're learning in our classes also to the outside world. I have a friend who just took a class. She learned how to track animals, and then she got an internship this summer tracking animals with one of her favorite firms. I don't know exactly what it is, not my area of expertise, but she just went on and on and on about how she was the first ever freshman to do it because she had this experience she had learned in the classroom. I don't know anywhere else that you could do that as a freshman, so I think it's really great. We also have something very unique to the university. It's learning communities. So your first year, you learn with people who have similar interests as you. For me, this was a huge part of my experience coming into college. I was really worried about learning, you know, how I get around, where do I meet people with similar interests outside of clubs, outside of class. And by grouping people, and you choose where you go, grouping people by interest, you can live with people that you'll pretty much automatically kind of be friends with. Your learning communities also throw events, such as mine is Cultural Crossroads, and we do No English Food Truck. We do a huge Chinese New Year celebration. And that way you get to learn more about different things within your college, your community, the university as a whole, as well as meeting people who have very similar interests than you, but might not be in your major. So, and then turning it over to Kira.
Yes, thank you. So here at UVM, we have some core values that every student, every staff member upholds at all times in every way. The 6 are respect, integrity, innovation, openness, justice, and responsibility. And especially right now, these are very important to UVM. They call it our common ground. We acknowledge that Vermont is not inherently the most diverse place, but we do have a lot of students and faculty and community members here who are very diverse and come from very diverse backgrounds. So we have 4 different identity centers on campus that all have their own locations, either on campus or kind of within the Burlington area. These 4 identity centers are the Mosaic Center for students of color, the Prism Center for any students who identify anywhere on the LGBTQIA+ spectrum, the Interfaith Center for any students of any faith or lack thereof, as well as the Women and Gender Equity Center. these all also do meet in a centralized location, which is in the Davis Center, our student center, and it's the D&E Lounge, the Diversity and Equity Lounge. And basically that's just a common space for people to go at any point in their day and meet other people who they might have something in common with. Each of these identity centers also branches out into much more specific clubs and organizations on campus for people looking to find friends that they might have something even more in common with. Another awesome thing that happens here at UVM is that every student is required to fulfill these requirements you see here. So everyone has to take 2 different diversity classes, a sustainability class, a quantitative reasoning class, as well as a foundational writing and information literacy class. And the best thing about that is that there's not just like one diversity class that everyone has to take. There's no one size fits all of anything. The best part is that you actually get to take classes that will count towards your majors or minors, but also fulfill these requirements. So for example, for one of my diversity courses, I took Latin American and Caribbean music, which counted both for credit in my music minor as well as for one of my diversity credits. And it was a really great way to fulfill that while also, learning more about music, and especially in a part of the world I'd never studied before. For my sustainability course, I took a class within the microbiology and molecular genetics department called Unseen Worlds, Microbes and You. So basically it was a semester-long course about microbes and the microbiome and how our sustainability has an impact on the microbiome and vice versa, and how it's so crucial to human history and human survival that we treat the microbiome with kindness and continue to encourage our efforts towards sustainability. And then thank you, Carrie. So then, as Carrie touched upon a little bit earlier, Burlington really would not be what it is without UVM, and UVM would not be what it is without Burlington. They are very interconnected in so many ways. I mean, obviously there are a bunch of amazing local restaurants and businesses downtown you can support. The main street downtown is called Church Street, and it's a pedestrian street, so you can walk up and down it. There's tons of businesses. Of course, Ben & Jerry's is on Church Street. And it's a great way to spend a weekend, or even during the week. I found myself going there after class to grab a coffee and study, or whatever the case may be. Another cool thing that happens in Burlington is a lot of students will actually end up getting internships down there, or other experiential learning opportunities like what Skylar was talking about, because we do have so many businesses here in Burlington that love to help students out with their education and in getting those real world experiences. As you can see in the top right corner of this slide, there are a bunch of different resources that are very close to UVM and Burlington, if not right here. One thing that's super duper helpful for folks coming from farther away, which I'm assuming you all are, is the Burlington Airport is literally like a 10-minute drive from campus. And for me, I live in the southern part of South Carolina. So for me, I can, make a connection to Boston or DC and then be in the Savannah airport just a couple hours later. It's very, very handy getting to and fro. And that's just one of the ways in which Burlington really does help students who are coming from farther away to get to campus.
Thank you so much, Kira and Skylar. Appreciate your perspectives, and we'll hear from them a little bit more as we get into the Q&A session. So I want to just speak about how the University of Vermont really is an exceptional return on investment. And so you heard Kira and Skylar talk a little bit about some of their experiences and experiences of their friends. UVM doesn't find success, UVM students and alums don't find success by accident. It's something that really students are working towards while they are students at the University of Vermont. So as you can see here, 93% of our graduates were either employed or continuing their education within 6 months of graduating. You can see some information about medical school admit rates and law school admit rates. We've had finalists for scholarships and competitions. So however you decide or you determine what success is for you, the University of Vermont can help you reach that. So whether that's through those hands-on experiences in classes or just taking advantage of going down to Burlington and doing an internship, the University of Vermont really is that exceptional return on investment. And I think it's important for you to think about, even though it's a couple of years away, what exactly is it that you're working towards? You're staying up maybe late and doing tons of papers and, really learning a lot. And sort of what is the reason? What is the purpose? And so this really incredible success, no matter how you define it, is something that we feel very, very proud of. So we'll shift gears a little bit and just talk just briefly about the admissions sort of profile, and then also a little bit about some dates and deadlines. And so we do take a holistic review to all of our applications at the University of Vermont, and we are test optional this year. So if you're applying for the 2021-2022 academic year, we are test optional. So you can choose to submit standardized test scores or you don't have to. You can see our average GPA there on the screen, and you can learn a lot more about the different requirements for applying on our website, uvm.edu/apply. We do have two deadlines. We have an early action deadline and a regular action deadline. So early action November 1, regular would be January 15th. And then you can see some information here about scholarships as well. So we do have about 87% of our students receiving scholarships or financial aid of some sort, and that includes out-of-state students. Out-of-state students are eligible for scholarships up to $20,000 per year. And that is not an additional application. That's something that is a part of the application and is evaluated when you apply to the University of Vermont, either using the Common App or the Coalition application. So my suggestions to you would be to stay connected with the University of Vermont. We will get your information having attended this session so that you can get on our email list and our mailing list. I would say definitely stay on track with those admissions requirements. So for those of you that are seniors, the continuation of strong academic performance. And if you're younger than that, thinking about making sure you're taking challenging courses and really pushing yourselves to achieve in the areas that you're really interested in. And then when it's the time, the Common App or the Coalition app would be your sort of path as an application to UVM for both scholarships, honors college, and the university in general. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can get to some questions and answers. And it looks like we've got a couple of questions. So the first question is about scholarships. So perhaps the answer that I just gave was helpful in that way. And for out-of-state students, scholarships available from up to $20,000 per year. And that is what would be available, as you mentioned, to make it more affordable for out-of-state students. There's also information available on our website about external scholarships, if that's something you're interested in. And also, we would encourage students to fill out the FAFSA, and that's going to make you eligible for any need-based financial aid that we have available. So things like an on-campus work-study job or something to that effect. So that's how the out-of-state scholarship opportunities. And then I see a similar question about the scholarship competitions. And perhaps I misspoke a little bit when I said scholarship competitions. What I meant for that was scholarships for post-graduation study. That was what that statistic was about. So that 78 was a number of students who have gone on to do like a Fulbright scholarship or things like that. And so that would not be something that you would need to be thinking about at this point. That's something that we would provide advising for, you would seek advising for when you were a current student at the University of Vermont. So in our honors college, we have a specific advising office, let's say, for students to meet with an advisor to talk about those competitive scholarships towards graduate school or towards future study, whatever that might be, potentially across the world. So that's what I was meaning when I was talking about the scholarship competitions. So I'm seeing another question about, do a lot of students belong to fraternities or sororities? Kira or Skylar, would you want to speak a little bit about fraternity and sorority experiences or life on campus?
Yeah, I can take this one. So currently, the percentage of our student body that participates in fraternity and sorority life here is about 9%. So that's several hundred students. It is by no means a small portion of the UVM community, and they do great work. The cool thing about fraternity and sorority life here at UVM is you can really choose how much you want to participate in it and how much you want it to impact your college experience. So you can dive all in and, your very first year, you can rush and become a member of one of the fraternities or sororities, and then you can even live in one of the houses in Burlington later on. Or if that's not your thing, you can totally just choose alternate routes to go through your college experience. So it really is up to you how much you want to do that. Some awesome work that's been done by our fraternities and sororities. I know one of them hosts an event called Theta Thanksgiving, where on Thanksgiving or like around Thanksgiving time, you can go to the house and pay a small price and basically get all you care to eat Thanksgiving food. And then all of the profits from that event go to helping kids in the Burlington area who need representation in court to obtain that representation. Another great event that is hosted every single year by our fraternity and sorority life group is that they host Rallython, which is basically an all-night dance marathon that benefits the UVM Children's Hospital. So it's exactly what it sounds like. It's super fun. You get all dressed up and you go dance the whole night long, and then all of the proceeds go to the UVM Children's Hospital, and they usually raise a ton of money every year, and it's a super fun event. So yeah, our fraternity and sorority life here is very philanthropy based, and it's really up to you how much you want that to have an impact on your college experience.
Thanks, Kira. Appreciate that answer. So the next question was about what is diversity like on campus? Would one of you want to answer your experience with that?
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. I can take this. So diversity on campus, we do, like we said earlier, acknowledge Vermont is not necessarily the most diverse state. However, there are tons of places on campus that do try and connect people from all different walks of life, whether that be north, south, white, black, gay, straight, but like there's every type of kind of mixing on campus. And it's really a mix of ways of life, like outlook on life. And I think that all of our identity centers are great places to start for people who are looking for like-minded folks. But like Kira said earlier as well, with our diversity classes, you meet a lot of people that kind of round out your opinions. You can learn about different ways people see the world, and you can meet people of different diversities that you never would have expected. Once again, also learning communities are a great way to do that as well. Everything on campus is very, we focus on trying to have you meet different people and get that full experience and become, world citizens rather than just citizens of X place from before you came to school. So.
Great. Thank you, Skylar. I also think it's important to kind of remind ourselves of those common ground values that Kira did such a great job of explaining. And so that consistency around the values of justice and openness and sustainability, things that kind of keep us all connected are a really big part of daily life at the University of Vermont. There's banners hanging in the Davis Center, which is a student center, that list all of those. There's rocks outside of the Davis Center, big like rocks that you would sit on, that list those values. And so I would say that the connection around that, our common ground, is another way that I really like to think about diversity on campus. So we have another question coming in about what the cost would be to attend the University of Vermont. Yes, so my suggestion for the student asking about that would be to go onto our website, to the Student Financial Services section of the website, and there is what we call a net price calculator. Every school in the nation has a net price calculator on their website. It's required by law, and it would be able to give you a chance to put in some of your information about like your GPA, if you choose to submit test scores, as well as some financial, kind of very basic information. And it would give you what they call like a net price estimate, essentially, that you could see what it might look like. I would say that, the best options are going to be to keep your grades up, definitely, and qualify for those academic merit-based scholarships, and then also to submit the FAFSA. Those are sort of the two options of ways to make the cost more affordable at the University of Vermont for an out-of-state student. So you can definitely check out that net price calculator on our website, and then you can certainly reach out to your admissions counselor. So if you're from North Carolina, you can reach out to me, and if you're from South Carolina, you can also reach out to me, and I can connect you with the right person. And I would be happy to speak more specifically with you if you have any additional questions. So next question would be, do employers recruit students on campus? Do either of you have experience attending one of the career fairs or want to speak at all about that?
Yeah, I do. So as a student in the business school, we have a ton of career fairs, though every college does, and we also, our career center throws college fairs for pretty much any major, any area that you're interested in. Personally, I actually found my last internship from the summer through a career fair at UVM. We did a career fair that was virtual during COVID at the end of last semester, and it connected me with a couple different businesses I was really interested in that I had admired for a long time. And I got to talk to them, see, what they were looking for, what they weren't looking for, how I can improve in the coming years and get in that opportunity. It's also a great way. We do alumni events. So we have alumni employers come, and so they already have this personal connection. I met with one who actually was also an econ major, and we were bonding over our favorite professors, like our favorite topics. And I ended up talking to him for a long time, and I still reach out to him whenever I have questions about, his business, like what exactly he is looking for student recruiters, student interns. So we have a ton of opportunities for employers to recruit students and students to get in touch with potential employers, just potential mentors, etc. So.
Thanks, Skylar. Kira, do you want to speak a little bit about that sort of similar question, maybe not specifically employers, but around the sciences and what your experience has been with getting hands-on potentially experience in the sciences?
Yes, absolutely. So as a molecular genetics major, I am not only involved in the microbiology and molecular genetics department, but also in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences kind of community as a whole. One thing I can say is that the head of my department emails us, it feels like practically every week, with some opportunity from a former student or some other alumni about an internship or a job. And especially right now, there is so much need for help with testing and development of tests and development of, vaccines. And so we got a lot of emails recently about opportunities, not just in Vermont, but also, the New England area, which is helpful right now because not everyone is on campus right now. So there have been a lot of opportunities in Boston, in New York, other places in Massachusetts. So yeah, I was going to say, first thing is that your department looks out for you a lot with trying to get you involved in different things, not only in Burlington, but also just, in the country, in some cases, even the world. And then I was also going to talk a little bit about our career center here at UVM. So they have a lot of resources. But one of the most recent ones that I think is the coolest is that they've developed these career focus groups, and they have different categories. There's like arts and creativity, healthcare, like sustainability. And the best part is that you can be a part of any of them regardless of your major, because you can major in something, but who knows like what you're going to focus on as a career in the future. And so what you do is you sign up for any of these groups once you're a student at UVM, and then the Career Center will send you links to any presentations, any seminars, any events happening that might particularly pertain to one of the career groups that you're in. And that's one of the ways in which the Career Center really invites you into the network of UVM, not makes you go find the network of UVM, which I think is a great distinction about our Career Center here. We also do have our own version of LinkedIn here at UVM. It's called Handshake, and it works just the same. You can find alumni anywhere in the country or the world. For example, when I lived in Colorado, I was interested in going back there after graduation, try to find a job. And I was able to go on Handshake, find UVM alumni in Denver and see what they were up to, and see if I had a chance of maybe meeting with them, shadowing with them, something like that. So it'd be the same thing that could apply for North or South Carolina, because alum do move all over the world after graduation. That's a great resource to really find internships and jobs both during and after your time at UVM.
Thank you both so much for sharing those experiences. So the next question is about how accessible are administrators, for example, like the registrars or financial aid officers? Do they have experience with seeking out folks like that, and how accessible it was for you to find them?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of experience with this. I've never actually had to go someplace on campus to meet with them, but last summer there was something that happened in my financial aid that needed to get sorted out before school started. So I wasn't even in Vermont, but I called the Student Financial Services office, and throughout the course of the week, I don't know why, I guess it was a big problem, but they had me talk to like a bunch of different people in the office. But in that 1 week, they solved everything. They got it all fixed up, and I was all ready to go for the first week of school. So yeah, I'd say it's pretty accessible. The number is right on the website. It's right in your portal for UVM, and they're very easy to contact.
I would also add that the offices of both of the departments that were mentioned in the question, registrars and student financial services, are both located in Waterman, which is a big building just off the green. It has, I think it's like 5 stories. It's a pretty big building, and it has a kind of like a reception desk almost when you walk into the kind of main floor, and there's a person always sitting there that can help guide you. So you don't have to have a previous set of knowledge around even necessarily who you need to talk to about what your concern is. And so walking into Waterman is just a great opportunity to explain your concern and, get some guidance on who you might want to talk to. I think another thing that is really helpful to point out is the accessibility of faculty as well. Do either of you have experience with like accessibility of faculty and having them kind of help connect you to, or even staff, connect you to the right place if you weren't really sure what you needed to do, having them help you?
I have a little bit of experience with that. Because I have basically three majors, I've had to kind of jump through a lot of administrative, hoops at first to try and convince them, like, yes, I was sure I'm going to do this. Like, this isn't a mistake. This isn't a glitch. And I've always been kind of shuffled around to the right person at the right time. I don't know how they always knew what I needed when I didn't know what I needed. But especially with the College of Arts and Sciences, they have always been super helpful. All of their administrators, looking at, majors and declaring, and just general like counselors have been super helpful. And also working with the two colleges I'm in, because it's not always easy to get information transferred from one college to another at times. They've always been super helpful with me, making sure I have everything. If I needed anything from anyone, like they'd get it all sent, and I've always had a great experience.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, both of you. The next question is about, are classes more lecture-based or discussion-based? Maybe both of you could give your experiences with the types of classes that you have had at UVM.
Yeah, absolutely. So the short answer is yes, all of the above. Classes take so many different forms here at UVM. So I would say my first year and roughly my second year, it was about half and half. I had a couple of larger lecture classes and then a couple of smaller discussion-based classes as well. But the cool thing about the lecture classes is there's also a lot of discussion that happens in there. So for example, right now in my third year, I am in an introduction to pharmacology class that has about 100 people in it. And it right now, of course, is kind of the mixed format where like half of us are there in person, half of us are there online. But regardless, my professor still has ample time for discussion every single class, both virtually and in person. So what she'll do is she'll present a couple slides and then she'll open up a question to the room. And so if you're virtual, you get sent to a breakout room and you get to discuss with other students who are also virtual. And if you're in person, you get to discuss with students who are around you. And then after a few minutes, we all come back and we discuss our answers to the question, and then we ultimately talk about like whatever the answer really is. And that's just one example of how even in a larger lecture class, there's plenty of time for discussion. And I don't think I've ever had a professor that like wanted to lecture all the way through and not have any feedback from students. So I think it's really important to note that no matter what class you're in, no matter what you think might be the case, professors are always there to discuss with you and, hear your insights about the topics and really just, further that discussion. So I'd say there's a good mix of both, but no class is just completely one or the other.
Yeah, I definitely concur with that statement. I've had a lot of classes. My first year, I had about two of our like bigger lecture classes, two of our medium, we call them traditional classes, which is about 70 to 20 students, anywhere in that range, and then seminar classes, which are about 20 or less. And all of them do have an element of, hey, we're all gonna go and have this discussion. Hey, we're gonna come back. We're gonna, talk through this topic. And I've loved it. Even my first year, I had a class of 9 students. So it was a professor and me and 8 other students. And you really get to know your professors well in those small classes. But even in the big classes, I have a class right now of about 130 people. I still know my professor. My professor knows me. She knows what topics I like. She knows when I'm interested, when I'm not really as interested. And I think that here at the university, that is something that's really important for all of the professors, is getting to know their students kind of regardless of what size class you're in. Like, they care about what you're learning, what you're interested in, and they want to make sure they're teaching you the best regardless of, how many people are there. So
Great. Thank you both so much for sharing those experiences. So I'm not seeing any questions in the chat right now. So since we have a few more minutes, if you want to collect any more questions and put them in the chat, we'd be glad to answer them. But I'm going to pose a question to Kira and Skylar. I'm wondering if you can talk to us a little bit about experiences coming from further away to the University of Vermont. So, coming from South Carolina or from, Colorado, can you speak a little bit about just like what the experience has been like being sort of an out-of-state student from a little bit further away at UVM?
Yeah, definitely. So interestingly enough, Colorado and South Carolina are like almost equidistant to Vermont, it feels like, because with travel time, it is pretty much a whole day experience. But having said that, it's been a very positive experience. And the cool thing is that even students who are coming from Vermont or even Burlington or in the New England area, regardless, we're all heading into, the same thing as first years for the first time together. So even though people might have more experience with the area, most people have never had the college experience before. And so that first week and really that first year, everyone's kind of figuring everything out together. And interestingly enough, even my friends who knew people also going to UVM beforehand, they didn't really seek them out as friends the first year because they wanted to kind of branch out their friend groups. And now that we have established our friend groups at UVM, I mean, like a bunch of my roommates have like people they knew who were going to UVM at the same time, but like they aren't necessarily like living with them because they wanted to branch out their friend groups even more. So the takeaway from all of this, I'm thinking, is that no matter where you're coming from, everyone's in this together for the first time. So it really is a learning curve for everyone, and it's something that we all figure out together. And I had a blast my first year just meeting people and having new experiences. And currently right now, the people I live with are quite literally the people who lived in the rooms all around me my very first year. That's just how, tight knit the learning communities here are. So it can be stressful. It can be scary trying to move all your stuff up here, but it will be a good experience. Yeah. Skylar, if you want to talk on that too.
Yeah, I can definitely echo that as well. It can be a lot, but you really do. Everyone's in that same boat your first year. You're, all a new place. You're learning to be on your own for the first time or be relatively on your own. And learning communities 1,000,000% helped me. Like Kira, I'm still in the residence halls right now, but a lot of the people that are living with me and around me are all from my learning community last year, and we're all still pretty tight knit. A big difference for me, and I'm assuming for a lot of y'all who would be coming up here from North and South Carolina, is the weather. It is very different. Um, I will say I was super intimidated as a South Carolinian where, winter is like 55 and like that's it. To come up here and it'd be like, oh yeah, like it's 17. It's, oh no biggie. I couldn't handle that. But you learn really quickly, like you layer, you wear a big coat and you do things outside. You get moving, you enjoy the winter. Like we have tons of opportunities to, drive you to go ski. I didn't know how to ski. I got in a club, the UVM Ski and Snowboard Club. They taught me. So there's a lot of opportunities for trying new things, which was my biggest thing, especially since there are no mountains in a lot of South and North Carolina. There's a lot of opportunity to, go hiking, go skiing, and just have all these new experiences you necessarily wouldn't have staying at home or in the state necessarily.
Thank you both. So we'll kind of close it off with a final question to both of you, unless we see something else come in the chat. But that final question would just sort of be, what would be your kind of piece of advice for a high school junior or senior who might be watching right now and is thinking about coming to UVM? What's your kind of piece of advice that you would like to give them, maybe that you wish that you had known when you were in their shoes just a couple of years ago?
Yeah, so my piece of advice, and honestly like a life motto of mine, is that everything is going to be okay. And that applies in so many different scenarios, but especially in the college search process, it can be, easy to put all your eggs in one basket and then, suddenly freak out if something doesn't go the right way, or it can be hard to like find your place at first. But in either case, I would say that the best thing to do is just kind of, actively, be involved in your college process, but to keep an open mind and really see where you might fit in the best. And I mean, in general, in life, everything is going to be okay. It's all going to work out someday, and you're going to be very grateful for the path you took eventually. I know it can be very scary right now and very stressful, especially right now, but it is all going to be okay. And, you know, if UVM is your place, great. And if not, that's also great. We're all here on our own paths, and you're going to find it. Yeah.
My advice also piggybacks off that. It's a little of the before everything is all right. I say take a risk. You can't grow without taking a risk. You can't, learn anything new about yourself, about your ideals, about your more like you can't learn without taking that risk. So like Kira said, whether or not you come to UVM or not, find a place that makes you want to take those risks, where you want to get out of your comfort zone and you want to learn more about the world around you and yourself. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice I wish I could give myself a little bit more. I took a risk coming to Vermont, and I absolutely love that. But once I got here, I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll stay in my comfort zone a little bit. Maybe I'll do this. And I think that now that I'm here and I know where I'm at and I know what I'm doing, you should take more risk. You should put yourself out there, meet new people, try new things. Even if you fail, like, you learn, and that's the best part of it. So
Thank you both so much. Such good advice. Very, very sage and wise students from UVM. So I really appreciate it. So Kira, Skylar, thank you so much for being here with me. Just wanted to share that if anyone would like to reach out to me via email, I'd be more than happy to receive an email, and I could also connect you with Kira or Skylar. So you can email me just firstname.lastname@uvm.edu, and I'd be more than happy to connect you with a current student like Kira or Skylar, someone else, or I would happily answer any questions that you might have. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Was there anything else, any other announcements that you had?
I think that's all. Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for providing such detailed information at this college exploration event. For the attendees, after you close this window, you may see a very quick 4-question survey. We ask that you complete that out. The schedule for CACRAO for this event is available online, and recordings of this session and other sessions will be available so that you can go back and refer to them and share them with any of your friends. All right. Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you very much for hosting us. Have a great afternoon.
You as well.